And hi, everyone. Let me make sure to turn on everyone's sound so we can hear everyone. Say something, people. Say something.
What's up?
All right. The levels
Something.
seem to indicate that you guys are talking. So, all right. Let me get this set up here and we'll go ahead and get started. I think we are. Yeah, we're all set. Okay. Well, welcome. As you can kind of see, we're not all very dressed up in our costumes. Caroline had a family thing. And I kind of waited to the last minute to respond to Caroline because I had a migraine when they it's a string. I've had two migraines my whole life. One was yesterday, and then the other one was like 10 years ago. So, so I didn't get back. So let them do their family thing. So we thought we'd come hang out with you guys. You can ask us questions. We're going to talk about how we met, like our first experiences with Zweihander, because I know two of you have never played it before, but two of us have, and things like that. So if you've got fun questions, go ahead and post them. I think there's like someone said all the questions. I want to hear the weirdest stuff. I think you said Ty. As long as it doesn't violate the Twitch terms of service, I think we're
Yes.
okay.
And we'll like red light you if we are
There
really
you get red light. Yeah, yeah. There we go.
You're like,
Yes,
"Oh,
keep
stop
the
right there."
yeah keep the questions appropriate. So let's go ahead. If you haven't watched our stuff, please do. We're also, I guess we'll do the intro of who we are. We won't talk necessarily what you've been enjoying. So yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, why not? Just make it up. All right, everyone. I'm the Vampire Interpreter. I've been the game master for this. You can find me on Instagram as the Vampire Interpreter. I am the GM for this show. I also have several other shows. I do the Vampire Interprets, where I talk about various game topics. On TTRP Theater, I also did 2 seasons of Sinners and Saints. I am on Weave the Tale doing the Nuaden Chronicles. I have a vampire Sabbat game in development, and I may be helping someone else develop a Star Trek game. So, yeah, I'm really busy. And other than that, I'm also a sign language interpreter and things like that. So, that's me. Let's jump down to Ty. Ty, introduce yourself, the whole 9 yards, and all that business. So,
Hello, I am Ty. You could find me on Instagram and Twitter at Hey Tyler Gray. I have done a few games with Adam. We met at the Night in Question, Jackalopes. Awesome, amazing LARP that they do every year, except obviously last year. They are doing it this year. Check it out. Just plugging them real quick. But we met there and became instant buds and fake married. So that was a fun time. He has since roped me into a lot of projects, and I love them all. You can find me as Kiza or oh no, I forgot her name.
oh, you're
What's
like
the demon
like
name?
Marilena. I'll look it up. You keep going. I'll look it up here real fast.
Kiza slash whatever the demon name was.
I'll
In
find
Sinners
it
and
here.
Saints, end of season 1 and season 2. I will
Mary
also be
Diana.
in
Mary Diana.
Meridiana.
Meridiana. How did we set there? Clergy of Gamiel.
Yes, yes. You can also find me later in May in the Sabbat Vampire the Masquerade game with Adam. Maybe some other fun stuff will come of that. And I'm also Adelaide in this game.
There we go. All right. Let's jump over to you, Ian.
Right. I'm Ian. You can find me on Instagram at Genghis On with an H. Um, let's see. This is the first stream I've done. I've been involved in gaming since probably grade school. I met Adam about 100 years ago.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like back when we were doing some vampire LARP together. So what should I say about myself? You can find me here at this Bat Time and Bat Channel.
There you go. This is your kind of first rodeo, as it
Yeah,
were.
it was kind of my first.
So,
Hopefully not my last rodeo.
oh no, I
But
think
No.
I that show I'm developing. I was asked to or helping develop. They were like, I don't know people to cast. I was like, turns out I know a lot of people. So you're on that list. So
yeah,
we'll see. I'll
so
leave it to them to
that
determine cast, but I'm putting names down.
yeah that could end in me needing some prosthetics.
Oh
So we'll
yeah, that's
see.
true. Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Depending.
All right, let's
So
jump over to Megan.
Hi. I am Megan. I play Maythriel in this game. You can find me at starweaver_ on Instagram, or also Shiro Onikaz, ShiroOni, and then COS. If you want to see some cosplay stuff that I've done. This is my first time streaming anything, which is extremely exciting. I met, oh my god, my brain is just like flying away.
Are you trying to remember how we met?
Yes. I met Adam randomly on Instagram. I think I stumbled upon some posts of his regarding vampire stuff when I was finally like seeing more about Vampire the Masquerade and really getting into it, and then we just kind of became friends over the course of time. And this little beautiful situation occurred. I've played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in the past, not really much else, but I am a huge fan of D&D. And yeah, very also excited for potential future endeavors should they arise.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess so that's how we met. Let's go ahead and talk, since we're on the Zweihander channel, we'll talk about what got me into Zweihander, and then I see we got a couple of questions. We'll jump to those. You guys can go ahead and keep posting them. But what got me into Zweihander was actually Drive-Thru RPG. Before Zweihander was owned by Andrew McNeil, they were just kind of a small company, and they did everything they could to just give away the book practically. And I clicked on it and was like, oh, what's this game? And it was like, do you like dark games? I'm like, go on. Do you like The Witcher? Uh-huh. Do you like Game of Thrones? Uh-huh. Do you like Magic with Terrible Consequences? Keep going. Then we've got a game for you for like, it was like $8, if not even $5 for 600 pages. I'm like, sure. And I tried it out. I'm not a huge fan typically of percentile systems, so that got me into that. I have the books right here. I think I got the first game, loved it, and that's when they were just closing up the Kickstarter for Mangaush, and I just went crazy and got a ton of stuff. And it was the first stuff delivered to where I live here in Denver, so I got that just before I moved. I think the first game I ran for it, I ran with Ian. I did The Witcher, The Phantom of Bordeaux, little mini campaign. Tons of fun. I actually might be something I kind of just redo for you guys here on the Zweihander channel sometime. That's where were you Dietrich? Dietrich? What were you? Dietrich the groin strainer we ended up calling you?
Something like that. Yeah, like Dietrich.
Yeah.
It was the groin strainer. Something the groin strainer.
Yeah. There's like random damage charts. Like if you wound someone, and that's what he rolled. When he goes to stab somebody with the sword, they got a groin strain. So I think I remember you threatened someone in the game too. Like, you will learn why they call me the groin strainer.
The groin strainer, yeah.
Wait, isn't that what Albert did? Like he strained his groin when he fell?
No, it was his knee.
It was my knee.
Priceless.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like something with the groin. I was like, wow.
Yeah, if Albert
terrible fall
strained his groin, I think I probably would have just ended the stream for the night.
You're like, no, I can't do this anymore.
Enough of this game.
And I think with Megan and Ty, it's your first time playing Zweihander, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So, what do you think of it so far? Because I believe when we agreed to do this, Andrew McNeil, Grim and Perilous were nice enough to give. I have everything already, so I forget. They send you guys the player's guide.
PDFs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the PDFs of the player's guide. So, have you guys gotten to flip through that? Because I made your first sheets. I'm just like, what are your impressions so far of the game? We'll start with you, Megan, and then we'll jump over to Ty and end with Ian, who's played this a couple of times.
Yeah. Actually, I had looked through it a little bit when you initially mentioned Zweihander. You said something, and I'm one of those people who, like, if there's even an inkling of getting to play a game, I'm like, okay, I need to know everything about this game. So I was looking into it, and then recently my partner got the physical copy of it, and so I was looking through because he was considering doing something, and so recently I've kind of dug through it a little bit more, and I think my favorite part about it is just the amount of professions that you can do. There's just like so many interesting little things, and the fact that it's so like, it seems so very RP heavy, and there are just like so many options that you wouldn't even think about. And like if you look at D&D and Pathfinder and stuff, you get kind of like a set thing. Like there have become more options over time, but with Zweihander, it's like it goes into so much detail about like what you can do, and it's so interesting.
Awesome. Ty.
Uh, Zweihander is, I like that it's sort of like, in a sense, D&D, like setting wise. I mean, obviously you can like do whatever sort of setting, but I mean, it's like The Witcher, reminiscent of The Witcher, and which is also very like fantasy, whatever. I don't know, like that genre that's like basically D&D. But it's like it's very similar, and I liked the familiarity with it. I haven't dove too far into it because I just remembered that last time I went to look through it, I hadn't received the thing to download it on Drive Through RPG, and I like looked at it again, and I still don't. It's not there. It's
Oh, well,
so.
we'll shake him. We'll shake him.
But I feel like you sent me something, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I've sent you a copy. You know, I think I sent you guys a
But I
copy
mean, but
at
I've looked
first,
at
but yeah,
yeah,
to give
yeah.
you the idea.
But I like did my googling, and I read like the Wikipedia pages. And I do like how, although it to me is familiar, uh it still is like so different from D&D, with like mechanics and like percentile system, and like the different professions, and it feels like I don't know, just like a whole new game, and I like exploring through it, and I don't know,
Ian.
figuring out what's
Oh, I'm
gonna
sorry.
happen next.
Ian.
So I just kind of spin off that point. One of the things that I love about this game, and from a mechanics standpoint, is when you play sort of a regular fantasy game, or Star Wars, or Pathfinder, or even Vampire the Masquerade or something, almost every time your solution is going to be to just jump into combat and do it, because the player characters themselves are probably going to be on low tier superheroes. One of the nice things about this game is that things like magic and things like combat have some real consequences to it. Even if you're awesome at combat, your life is not guaranteed very easily. And so you have to really kind of consider that. And it kind of ups the stakes again with magic, because if you screw up magic, I mean, you could really wipe everybody out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes the setting so fun, is just that you have to deal with those consequences.
I'm a big fan. What I like, what kind of intrigued me about Zweihander, because like I said, I like the professions. There were so many professions. I remember with the first group, there's a prostitute profession, by the way, which incidentally in a large group, amazing. Every large party needs a prostitute because it makes everyone better. So there's always the D&D group where you're a bunch of murder hobos.
You need your emotional support prostitute.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Emotional support prostitutes are amazing. Because I think you
like get an extra fortune point or something.
Yeah, you get an extra fortune point. But it's like, but you could do. I mean, you could do it to everybody. I mean, heck, we're just gonna have our polycule of murder over here, and man, that was a tough fight today. You know what I feel? But so I liked it. They had a lot of neat little mechanics. Yeah, exactly. You get some fortune points. That's how we do it. But outside of that, so I kind of going back to what Ty was saying about D&D is, D&D is kind of the template of any fantasy game. So everything is compared back to it. And everything's strength really is, what does this do that D&D doesn't? Because while D&D does a lot of good things, there's a lot that D&D is not particularly good at. And other games that have borrowed off of it, to use an example, if you have a chance to play, now it's called, in its native system, it's called the One Ring, but I believe it's called Adventures in Middle-earth, which is like the D&D 5th edition of Lord of the Rings. And they are able to take that and they incorporated like the travel system, like because Middle Earth, it's all about traveling, getting to the destination and the stuff that happens along the way. That was a neat system. Game of Thrones is a social class system of how to do some social combat with one another, because then it's not, especially using Game of Thrones as the example, to use like seducing someone. You don't seduce someone. You don't seduce someone to betray their entire family in one go. That takes some time, and so all those neat little piecemeal systems were also in Zweihander. So that I thought was in the core book. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So you could do all those neat little things, and it worked pretty well seamlessly in the system. So that's kind of what why I liked it initially too. That there's the Witcher, which it's the Witcher class is called the Hexer, which is another translation of the Witcher outside of its native tongue. Or it's in the main Gauche book, and it's like they do just enough to avoid being sued. I love it. So it's great. So all right, let's get to some questions here. Kind of just us, because this is kind of the fun here. You guys get to hang out with us, talk to us, and we'll have some silliness. But yeah, we'll start with you, Coconut Clifford. I think you got two, but what are some of the things that inspired you for the world Silver and Blood? So I can answer that pretty quickly. There's definitely a lot of elements from different things in it, but what started me with Silver and Blood is it comes from it's actually from a Star Trek episode. What inspired me, there's a Star Trek Enterprise episode where this crew gets infected with a virus and they start to turn into this other race, and they start to they're going to this place, and they get there and you find out this society has been destroyed, and this was all that's left of them. And I was like, man, that's kind of neat. Like, you get infected with something, but instead of turning into a monster, you turn into something else. And I was like, it'd be really cool if orcs were like that. And that's kind of like, if you guys see in my other interview, like, that's kind of how I start with ideas. Like, I get this one thing, like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then another inspiration I had was the Catholic Church. So the Templum de Curia, which is the temple of the gods, or the court of the gods. Why the Catholic Church was so successful is they would essentially convert an area and be like, oh yeah, all your gods, they're like these saints. Yeah, that's it. And that festival, turns out Jesus was born that day. Didn't you know that, right, guys? So I created this idea of like, this church is the Catholic Church, but instead they're just like, oh yeah, your God happens to be in the court with our God. Didn't you know that? Yeah. So you're on our team now, and you're gonna listen. And then I had magical roads, so it kind of came from that. So I would say that's kind of where it all started. And there's the Clouding Mist, which is inspired a little bit by Ravenloft. Trying to think of other particular elements. There is you guys have yet to run them. There's the High Elves. They live behind the Great Wall. I thought that was kind of a neat thing. So the High Elves, I think, especially the way they look in my head, very much Skyrim High Elves. Like, that's how they look in my head. Then you have the other elves. Specifically, the Valley Elvi are another, speaking of a very, very esoteric game. It's called Crimson Empire. It was renamed Cursed Empire. They had some amazing art, and I loved the way their Valley Elves looked. Although my elves looked very different, I just liked them. I was like, oh, that's really neat. And I always have since then, every now and again, I'll toss in a Valley Elf because that art just captured me. There you go. If anyone knows Cursed Empire or Crimson Empire, there you go. Yeah, it was very percentile based, very brutal, very similar to this. Just not as successful. Still a very good game. So I hope that answers that. Let's see here. Emotional support.
I just wait real quick, Adam. I just wanted to piggyback off of your response.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I know it was aimed at you, but I just wanted to tell the audience. Before we started playing, Adam sent us a bunch of information about the world and where our characters are from, like different things to know, and I'm sure it's not the full compendium that he's written, but it is. I'm really excited to see more of the world because we really haven't gotten far, our characters, and I'm really excited. We're like an hour fucking away from where we started. Not really,
Yeah,
but you know, we're really not that far. And so just like reading everything and with the world, like I'm really excited to see what else you have in store for us and like what more of the world there is um to be discovered. So
I
yeah,
kind of
audience should look out for
want
them.
to go through the mist, and I want to see
Yeah.
what's going on in there.
Hmm.
indeed.
More
Yeah,
of the mist.
the mist. Yeah, the mist walkers. That was where the mist walkers in a way kind. Speaking of the Witcher, like what came up with that. Well, there's two things in the Ravenloft. There is a race that kind of travels through the mist between each country. I forget their
Vistani.
name. Yeah, the Vistani. But then also too, it was kind of a little bit more into a certain version of the game. The Mistwalkers are a lot more organized because I've rewritten the things a couple of times, but I didn't for the story that it came up when Ty got the part, which was pretty simple because Ty was like, "I got these, I got these contacts hired." There we go. That was pretty much the beginning and
That's
end
your
of
role.
Yeah, there you go. I also thought the idea of you because you had just come off playing a demon, so I was like, okay, well, let's do something different. And you also
Very
played,
different.
when we got married, you were a crazy, psycho Sabat, like you were monster. I'm like, okay, let's make you innocent and naive. That sounds fun. That's something different. So
Very.
yeah, so there we go. That's it. We'll go back. If you guys got questions for us, go ahead, toss it in there.
There was a
Um,
question from Alex the DM89,
mhm.
which is what's your favorite game system aside from Zweihander?
Okay, Ty, lead us off. What is your
Oh
favorite
God.
game?
Um,
Pass,
well,
pass.
I'm not as well versed in tabletop RPGs as my castmates. But like I said, I got my start with it with D&D, and I've played the most D&D games out of any other system. But honestly, I really really love Vampire. It's I think the mechanics are relatively easy to learn, and just the story is really interesting. I'm out of all of like supernatural mythical creatures, vampires are definitely my favorite. And so just to sort of read all of the different lore, I don't know, I'm a big nerd. I love all different kind of vampire lore. Doesn't matter, like even Twilight, like I think it's some of it's dumb, but like it's
No,
interesting to
it's
see like what
fine
people
though.
come up with different lore. And so Vampire the Masquerade, I think, is probably my favorite um, system. Just it's along with like the system being relatively easy, or easy to pick up on, I guess. It's just also a very very interesting game.
Awesome, Ian.
I think hands down my favorite game system is Mage the Ascension.
There we go.
That's probably my favorite game, and just the way that they handle magic in that, where it's like magic is kind of limited by your imagination, and
Yeah, no,
what spheres you have is very very cool.
it's one of those
Um,
games. It's easy. It's kind of easy to play, but hard to run, kind of thing.
yeah, and then so I'm looking over at my shelf right now to
Yeah. Oh my.
see what I've got, but definitely Mage. Star Wars Saga is pretty cool too. It's one of the better takes on Star Wars. Um, and yeah, I think those are my two favorites.
I do have a question at either one of Adam or Ian. With Star Wars and Star Trek, what is that like? What kind of system does it use?
Oh.
Star Wars
Like, what's it
Saga
kind of
use
based off of?
Star Wars Saga is definitely based off of like Pathfinder
Mm.
and
Yeah.
D&D 3.5.
But there are
So
different versions and editions of Star Wars. So the one he's referencing is the previous edition, kind of when like we were in college, or at least I was in college.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah,
all the youngins,
it's actually old and out of print at this point. There's a new version of it from Fantasy Flight Games that's a
Mhm.
little bit more.
More narrative.
It's actually a little bit closer to what Star Trek is running on now, which is sort of how would I explain it? Like kind of a system where you roll dice and it's like, oh, I got 3 advantages. So RP wise, what does that do? Well, I could spend those advantages on doing cool Star Wars or Star Trek stuff. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
Megan, what's your favorite game or system? Whichever you want to interpret that. Mm-hmm.
So I have only played, I've played Pathfinder, I've played D&D, and I have played briefly the Middle Earth game actually. And I would have to say that D&D is like my hands down. I've played it for so long. I think in total probably 4 or 5 years, like relatively consistently. We're actually about to finish up a campaign that's been going on for like 3 years now. I just love it so much. I love role playing, absolutely, and I just love the ways that you can go with things. And you could really do it with any game, honestly, but D&D is one of the more, like, it's become very accessible, and a lot of people have like known about it, and it's just one of those things where they got lucky. Honestly, I feel like that's what it is. And so it's one of those things where like a lot of people know about it, so it's really easy to play it with other people. They've simplified it in a way that's like pretty easy to understand relatively quickly, and so you can just really have a lot of fun with it and mess around. And if you get a really good DM, which I have the pleasure of having, like a great DM who's awesome at RP, and just like storytelling, so like it just really allows me to get in there and RP my little evil heart out. I am a super evil character in that campaign.
It's always fun to be evil.
Which, similar to you, Adam, in the way that like you're also so good at like getting in those little details. I love like hearing world building and having the nuances of a world instead of just kind of being like a flat thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but yes.
I think
the answer, to make a long story short, D&D is my favorite.
I'm not sure if I could answer that. Where some people like get a fast car or get something like, you know, as they, you know, it's your extension. If I'm compensating, I compensate in RPG books. I literally have, I could not bring them when I moved because it took up 26 boxes in order to move my physical collection of books. So yeah, I will.
Where are they?
They are in a garage. They're in my parents' garage. I initially had a storage unit, but then they got a bigger house, so they're like, "Well, why are you paying for a storage unit?" So it is. That's where it is. For me to pick a favorite, it's kind of like it's
picking
impossible.
Your favorite child.
Yeah, I mean, there are things I spend more time with, but I can pick up a game and be like, oh, here's why I bought this, and this is why I thought this was really cool. I play the most. I've run the most vampire probably over the course of my gaming career, especially if you include LARP. If you include LARP, I've been hands down played some sort of vampire twice a month, with the exception of COVID, twice a month since I was 20. And that was a while ago now. So that was like, what, 17 years? That's how old I am, 30, just turned 37. So, yeah, it was. So I don't know. It's hard for me to pick. I enjoy Vampire. But the game I enjoy playing is really what has the best story. We brought up Star Wars. I recently, I like to, as I say, my goal is not to make my players cry. My goal is, especially if that's is to make them feel something. And I had one of the NPCs who was essentially the dastardly Han Solo type, like sacrificed himself because they found out in the story he was once a slave. Well, the slave control ship was going to kill everyone, and he wasn't going to let that happen. So, you know, I had everyone know the song "Parting Glass." It's like an Irish drinking song, but if you do it very slow, it's a very sad song. I'll send it to you all afterwards. If we send to use Ty, who knows these people, if I were to send it to Catherine and or Rachel, they will start crying. So, because I think
I remember hearing about this when we did our first not streamed vampire game.
Yeah, I did the very like he would sing it in a couple of scenes, and then like as I'm kind of acting it out, like him on the station before it blows up, they're just like, so I enjoy that. So that's whatever has the most fun. Now I like reveals. Now that I'm streaming, I love it when myself or Ty suddenly show up looking very, very different. So that's kind of my favorite. We've got another little silly question here. What's your favorite cheese? People are asking. If you're just kind of watching us and haven't watched our show, world building. I decided, well, why is this? What is this town known for? And I'm like, oh, they make cheese. That's a very medieval thing. Like, all right, yeah, cheese. It's rare. So
Medieval
if you make good
Wisconsin.
cheese, there you go. So that was it. And since then, we've had a bunch of cheese puns. Favorite cheese, I do like pepper jack. I like anything spicy. So all right, Megan, favorite cheese.
There's this one cheese. It's a goat cheese. It's called Euphoria, but it's like EWE. It is so good. Ugh. I am a huge cheese fan. Charcuterie boards at least once a month if I can help it. Just like
There we go. All right.
I love a good cheese.
That
but
sounds
that
like
one,
a fun little side show to do here on Zweihander, is just have a cheese show.
yes,
I could
just
see Dan.
The
I could
cheese
see
and
this.
wine show.
Yeah, I could see the Zweihander people like, wait, what? It's an inside joke, huh? Like,
You'll get it. Watch the stream.
yeah, exactly. There you go. Like, see, I know you're not watching it because you would get the joke if you'd been watching. Ian, favorite kind of cheese?
Definitely like Gruyere on a townhouse cracker, specifically.
Very
Gotcha.
specific.
It's that. And Ty.
I think it's a tie between sorry. Between smoked Gouda and there's this like blueberry goat cheese that is delicious. Absolutely.
Goat cheese.
Yeah, it's a soft goat cheese. It's like the casing is blueberry, so the inside is just like the goat cheese, and it's so good. I miss it. I don't think I've had it in a while.
I like how you two just became fast friends, like right there.
I know.
Like there was that moment, like, oh, okay, like we're hanging out.
Connected.
We're hanging out.
Spiritual level.
Yeah, exactly. Coconut Clifford asked Ian, what was yours again? Missed it.
Oh, it's Gruyere.
Gruyere on
particularly on a townhouse cracker.
No.
Side note, what's everybody's favorite cracker to eat cheese with? I'm very partial to like either eating it straight up or like with the water crackers that are unflavored, because I feel like that is the right choice.
I guess I eat it straight up. I guess sounds like
That's fair.
sounds like we're
Just
talking
the
whiskey.
cheese?
Yeah, just neat.
Yeah, you
I'll
just
have
take-
my
you just
Gouda
take a-
straight.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
meat.
You just take a hunk of cheese and take a big bite out
Yeah,
of it.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, there's no judgment.
No, cheese is delicious. I don't care how you eat it. It's so good.
I cannot remember the name of the thing where they take like a piece of bread and they kind of melt the cheese over it. What is that called?
Oh yeah.
Ricolette or something?
Oh, raclette, where they have like a
Raclette.
whole thing of cheese and they just like scrape
Yeah.
They
cheese
just
off.
scrape it down and they kind of
Like
melt
the
it
knife
onto the
is
bread.
really hot, so they
Yes.
just like.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a specific type of cheese too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's a I guess it's kind of a French speaking Swiss thing.
I think so. Yeah, because I know raclette is definitely French. I just could not tell you.
I like how much this whole conversation has gone on this long about cheese.
It wasn't a one and done. We had to go very in depth.
Yeah, it was like,
about
oh
our
yeah,
cheese
it's not just
preferences.
us like, oh my god, these cheese questions again. I was like, nope, we're still going here. We're still going.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to Cheesecast.
Yeah, Cheesecast, there you go. Silver and cheese, blood and cheese.
Cheese.
Blood and
Cheese
cheese
and
sounds like
cheese.
one of those.
Blood
It sounds
and
like
cheese.
it sounds like a mouse guard game.
Oh
Mouse
my
guard.
God.
For those that don't know about it, all I know is that you're a mouse and the picture has a
And you're a
sword,
guard.
like a mouse with a sword, and I'm like, okay. I'm actually
Have I-
anthropomorphic kind of games like where that's not werewolf or hard sell for me. I actually. My friend Eddie Webb, who I met LARPing and is a White Wolf person, or now Onyx Path, makes a game called Pugmire, and it's like your dogs.
You're a pug.
You're a dog, essentially, and it's D&D, but you're a dog, and you're against the Empire of Cats or something or
Oh,
other.
that's like Humblewood as well.
Yeah,
Is the one where you're like animals.
I wish him all the success in the world. It was just really hard for me to get into it. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's a hard sell on me. So, but it was just
Zootopia, the game.
Yeah, well, Adam, whine about it. Thanks, Nepenthe or Ember, however we want to call you in the chat. So I thought I'd say, what about you? What's my favorite cheese? Pepper Jack. I mean, it's sometimes hard for me to remember what it's called. I'm like, oh, this is good. Like, I like this. What is this? I'll forget. That's, I'm a popcorn person.
If you ever get a chance, there's a company called Beechers. I don't know how outside of Washington they are, because I believe that they are located in Washington. They have one, if you like spicy cheeses, called No Woman, No Cry. And it's like a Jamaican jerk style cheddar. It's really good.
Gotcha.
Highly recommend.
Well, there we go. I thought since we don't have any other questions right now, I thought I would tell you. So, speaking of weird ideas that made me think of you guys, occasionally, I think we were talking earlier. We were talking earlier about ADD before the stream. So one of the bonuses of having ADD and being a GM is, man, I come up with some ideas all the time. And if you guys are on these, I didn't actually post it. I posted only in the secret influencers only chat. I had a random idea for Flames and Freedom. For those that don't know, Flames and Freedom is Zweihander's new book that takes place in the colonial period in America, which is really weird. There's not a lot of games that are like that. And I backed it. I'm not sure if backer kit's out. It's supposed to be out in September. Check it out. And I was thinking, and what inspired me, I was thinking like, oh, you could do The Witcher, like a monster hunting. I was like, eh. And I was like, Ichabod Crane. And then, so I may do this. I don't know if it's going to happen. Van Helsing, 1776.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing you post that.
Yeah, all I'm thinking is, after I thought of that, I'm like, oh, and I was like, Ty is Elizabeth Van Helsing. And you are in the colonies. And I have the quote is like, my family's always has always had an interest in dark topics. I suspect they always will, because it would be before Van Helsing appears in Dracula. So that was a neat little idea I had. What do you guys in the chat? Does it sound like fun? We'll have Ty as young Elizabeth Van Helsing going across colonial America, hunting down and learning about monsters. I think that would be kind of fun. Yeah, let's see what we for the we got another question here. Go ahead and you guys are listening and you think that might be fun. Let me know. Coconut Clifford, for the players, what characters or personalities have inspired your Zweihander characters? See, now, at least on that, I forget how I came up with the characters. Did I just kind of give you guys ones, or I gave you roles? I forget. Let's go ahead and talk about that. If someone remembers.
I think you just give us roles.
Yeah, I think you just kind of were just like race, role, and then decide.
And then we just went from there.
Yeah,
pretty much. You just told me I was a mage, and I was like, all right.
Hell yeah.
That is true. So I'm trying to remember, because each show I do is a little different. My players typically have a lot of input to an extent, because you have to function. What is your function in the story is usually where I go. And as long as any decision you make doesn't interfere with that, okay. Like, and then we just go with that. Like, yeah. So I guess, so then what has inspired yours? Why? So what's your inspiration? Who do you think of when you're playing your character, Megan?
Oh God, I was hoping.
Okay.
It was kind of like a few things. When I heard like Valley Elf pit fighter who was kind of like shunted from her own society and then was sort of imprisoned in a place that she didn't really want to be anyway. I was like, oh great, yeah, she's like kind of like Valkyrie from Thor in the way that she's kind of just like she's a fighter. She doesn't really want to like do anything else. She's like, okay, this is I'm not anybody else anymore. I'm gonna fight, I guess, and that's what I'm gonna do. And like any sort of excuse my language, but like a salty bitch, just kind of like then my
Salty
thought
bitch does not violate Twitch terms of service, so that's okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, if that was what got us in trouble, Sinners and Saints would have not lasted long. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, just any character like Toph from Avatar is another one where she's kind of one of those people who, in her instance she's blind, but in my instance I'm an elf in a world full of humans. It's just kind of that like disconnect of everybody else is different from you and everybody else doesn't really understand like the instances of people trying to like touch the horns and everything. She's just like, this is why I hate you all, because you guys don't fucking get it. But that's kind of like the thought process and the inspiration for Maythriel is
Awesome.
just you guys suck, you don't understand. I hate you.
That story you told about the horns was amazing, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you a story.
The last person to touch my horn.
The last person to touch the horn.
This is why we have
Oh,
Ian, what
That was fun.
inspires you? What do you channel?
So I try to channel this like this mix between like a German academic and Floki from Vikings.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm going for. So it's kind of like I kind of think of it as if like well Floki's this person that kind of lives out in the woods and is completely insane and wears like a lot of eyeliner.
Yeah, like you do.
But at the same time, like what if he had gone to graduate school? And so there's just a lot of like, again, it's kind of going off what Megan said. It's kind of salty, but I go for like a different kind of salty, like just like why is everybody in this room so stupid?
Yeah. You guys are children.
You all are
too smart
stupid.
for everyone.
Now, please, everyone, take off your clothes. We have to do a full inspection. Now, quit crying about it. This is what has to be done. Or the same thing, you know, like when we were in the town, it was like these people are religious fanatics and they have like, you know, a literal wonder in their town and they're too stupid to figure it out. So let's leave.
let's get out of here.
And that's kind of what I'm going for. And then I don't know how much we'll get to kind of develop the magic end of the world, you know, because I remember you presented, you know, like, well, there are these two magic schools. Which one do you want? I picked the one that's like the I think the Alta Veld or
the Ordos. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think your Ordo was the one that was native to Silverrock. That's why it doesn't say Ordo whatever. It is just, I think, something different. I think.
Yeah, and so I kind of got a very like nature magic druidic kind of feel from it. So that's why I kind of went with the whole like we'll do like eyeliner and facial tattoos.
There you go. It's always the more you draw on the face, I think the more the audience loves it. That's what I've learned. And last but certainly not least, Ty.
I'm gonna disappoint everyone and say I don't have a specific character that I drew from, but I try to go for, like Adam said, that very naive. I was very lucky when I grew up that I wasn't forced into a cult, Catholicism, and so I don't have that personal experience of like learning that you're kind of being brainwashed into. Not, you know, there are good religious people out there, obviously, but in Adelaide's case, her finding out, you know, and then being shunned from this religion that kept her alive, essentially, and you know, sane when she was going through some really hard times, that they just betrayed her, as, you know, simple as that, is really
as soon as you were different,
I guess. Right, exactly. It's very reminiscent of very real life situations, and people who grew up in different churches, not just Christianity or Catholicism, and different religions. That homosexuality and being trans and a lot of different things are looked at as like you know very wrong, and we will cast you out. And so I tried to just sort of channel that into it, along with that naivety of like she's only known this one thing. How is this person going to uh act in this situation of everything's kind of turned upside down? You're this person now, and you have to figure out life from here on out, like kind of on your own. um yeah, so that's what I'm going for.
Gotcha. Oh, I've been enjoying you guys. I've not normally when I kind of develop stories, I kind of pick like a couple NPCs I like to enjoy playing. This one, because I kind of came up, this is more of a survey of the world that I built rather than picking an established world, picking a particular thing and expanding upon that. I'm like, well, no, you guys have, I think, part of it, and I think I probably sent the whole thing to you, but nobody else here has read my, 40 pages. So I can't pick a specific thing and expand on it because nobody else knows about it. So this was a time that I've not really picked a character that I just tried to develop. I might do. Part of me is because I'm kind of just floating. Like the way I see this story, like if season 1 has an end, like I think you guys are going to get to the capital city, and that's where like Caroline's character is going to give her report. And now you guys are free, and you kind of have reached civilization, and then, well, where do we go from there? And me personally, I'm like, oh well, I got 49 other pages to pick. Where do we go? So, but that's kind of prevented me from kind of having a pet NPC. I say that I have a lot of pet NPCs when I write stories. I have ones that I like playing villains. I like being the bad guy.
Who
It can
doesn't?
be, yeah, it can be tons of fun to do that. So, and I've learned
I
from
do like the sorry to interrupt. I do
yeah,
like the character you introduced last episode. Uh
the
I can't remember his
yeah,
name.
Oh,
The healer.
what was his name? Titus? Was it Titus?
I don't
the
know.
one who had the
Yes, the guy who's part of
Mm-hmm.
the Knights Hospitaller. I was thinking, and I actually
Mm-hmm.
made him a little bit more likable because I was like, I feel like we've had a bunch of terrible people, so we need someone that is not as is not completely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of as a juxtaposition of how awful everybody else is. Because in a way, at least in that kind of mindset, I like the Game of Thrones novels and books in regards to is like everyone's a person, and people. Going back to what Ty was saying about religion, religions are responsible for the most terrifying and also the most beautiful things in the world. In the name of religion, amazing things have been done, and so have been terrible things. But it's also people are capable of that, and so that's kind of something I was like, all right, well, a bunch of terrible people. This is it's gonna be less melodramatic than an average D&D game. I don't think. I keep for those of you that are new and have not seen Sinners and Saints. It was kind of like our first show, and I've had like 16 episodes of that or something like that. So that's what I kind of keep referencing back to. It'll be different than that. I'm not going to be dressing up like a demon every time. That being said, if there is a demon, I have a couple of people that want to show up and play the demon. So, keep an eye out for some fun guest stars. I actually talked to Rachel about playing the Queen. If you don't know Rachel's in my other show.
She'd be such a good queen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And she was talking. She's like, "Am I an airhead? Am I a bitch? What am I?" And I was like, "Well, currently, though I have it written, you're an airhead. But like, let's see what happens, because a lot of the stuff I wrote kind of more generic for like the idea of like, oh, if anybody reads this, what would they want to do? But now I have to run it, so I have to make some more stronger decisions for certain things because I've got so many different organizations in there. Anyway, yada yada yada. I could go on and on about that. Guys, we got any other questions out there? It's not near as many of us. Let's see here. So go ahead, toss your questions out. Let's see here.
I actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious about what everybody else is kind of thinking regarding the whole orc situation, or
Oh.
rather, what everybody's characters are thinking. Just out of curiosity, just because
Okay.
I kind of know like where my headspace is versus like where Maythriel's headspace is in regards to like what the fuck is going on and what we should do.
All right, well, there you go. Ian, what's Albrecht think about dealing with these orcs?
Albert's kind of operating from the concept that the town's probably a complete loss. We're just
Wow.
gonna have to burn it all down.
Oh
Um,
no. So optimistic.
but it sounds like they might have a solution, which makes him a little bit more cautiously optimistic. I mean, as optimistic as a person who's thinking about burning a town down can be. Just sort of like, oh, can they cure it? Well, I've got to see that. I've got to see that. Kind of like there was a lot of just curious to see someone turn into an orc. Was there's a lot of that too. Just like, that's interesting. I kind of want to watch that train wreck happen.
Ty, I'm gonna write down my question. I just came up here. There you guys go.
I think Adelaide is kind of operating on the how she would like in the church, you know, like to help people. And so her immediate want to do is to help in sort of any way that she can. But she's still very hesitant about putting herself out there because of how she'll be seen with her new eyes. And you know, because she got a very very bad reaction the first time, and I think she might be a little bit traumatized from that. But I mean, in her heart, she wants to help. When they kind of first discovered it, and they were like talking, and I know everybody was like, all right, this is dragging out too long. But Adelaide, in my head, Adelaide's just like, no, like we need to know very specifically like how to help these people, what we need to do. You know, like let's just go talk to them now. Like, what's the sense in waiting, sort of thing. But that didn't turn out that way. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right, Megan, what's Maythriel thinking?
Mostly just these people are loose in the camp. Who knows if they've spread it yet? All these people are probably she has gone into this whole thing with the thought process of the fact that her people have hated orcs for the longest time. They've not had a good history with each other. So like the second that there was even a wind of potential orc outbreak, she's like, kill them all, burn it. And the only thing that's stopping her is the fact that like maybe not everybody is infected, and maybe some people are able to be saved, but she's really towing that line of like, you know, humans, orcs, like the orcs are worse by a bit. But it's like if it's a bunch of humans that could potentially turn into orcs, and she doesn't really care too much about humans, who, especially because of that lord who has not been particularly great, she's like, you know, if this gets too hard, we'll just end it.
Yeah. So it's, I think the half thing I'm behaving because there's a lot of humans around to witness what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
You want you guys look that way.
Like,
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, part of it's just like, okay, well, we're trying to deal with this situation, and the only reason why I'm being cordial is because there's more of them than there are of me.
Indeed.
I don't want to go to jail again.
I got a question. I mean,
yeah.
I think so. This is kind of a generic question. Tell me the game that you would want to stream next or anytime, and what would you play in it? So if I came to you tomorrow and said, hey, I'm going to do a new stream, what do you want it to be, and what do you want to play in it? Yeah, that's fun. So, you know, the world is your oyster. What would you do? I'll give you guys a quick second. I see everyone sees your big old cat there, Ty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
This is
Yeah.
this is Master Gracie. He's named after the master of the house in Haunted Mansion.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
He's a big brat. He's a
If you
very big
follow
boy.
Ty on Instagram, you will see several story updates in regards to the cat. That's for sure.
Yes. He does not like being held for too long.
All right, Megan. I'm
I
gonna
have
run whatever you want, and you get to play whatever you want. What am I doing here?
Side note, my little black cat Julie is just like sitting across the room from me on the couch, just like not even interacting. She's just kind of chilling out there. I had to put on my glasses because she's like blind.
I was about to say,
love.
I like that you like.
Yeah, I was like making me feel young over here. As you're like, hold on. The youngest one in the group, like, hold on.
I can only see up close. Oh man, I would say it's kind of a tie between between either Cult, which is very interesting for me, like having not read anything and just like watching Sinners and Saints, it's very intriguing to me. That and Vampire, because I have not yet had a chance to play in a vampire game, and it was teased like a couple of years ago. Not even teased. We were trying to play a game, and then things just sort of fell through. So I had like gotten introduced to it, and I was so excited, and then it didn't end up getting to happen. And I was like, great, now I have all of this energy towards vampire, and I really, really want to play it, and I've like ingested so much vampire stuff, and now it's just inside, and I can't do anything about it.
What would you play if I ran a vampire game? What would you play in it? What would you want to play?
I don't know the answer to that question. Probably a La Sombra.
You
Honestly,
want La Sombra? Cool.
From things that I have read and seen, and just like thought processes about the thing that I would find the most fun, probably a La Sombra or a Toreador, which was kind of like my initial intent going into Vampire, before I learned about the La Sombra.
There you go. And we'll jump over to you, Ian. Game you would want me to stream, and what would you want to do in it?
Oh boy. See, there's too many answers to this. So I really like that concept you were talking about, the Van Helsing 1776. I think it's a really neat concept, and that is a time period that is not often played. And being kind of a history buff, I think that would be awesome to do. And of course, I would have to play a Hessian.
Gotcha. You're gonna
Not the Hessian
from a Sleepy
Sleepy
Hollow.
Hollow.
Yeah, because we all know
Christopher Walken with pointed teeth.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? You'll know. Anyway. And Ty. I say this too, and I think I've invited Ty to pretty much nearly everything I've done, so it's kind of like
I know it's like the choices are endless. And like I told you, if you feel like you need some diversity in your cast, feel free to cast other people, but I will always say yes.
Gotcha.
Most of the time, say yes to something that you want to do. Or cast me in, because it's usually always going to be interesting. And I say usually just because, I don't know, maybe one day you're going to be like, let's play this, and I'm going to be like,
So not all my games. I have had games not work out. I think I've been relatively lucky so far, and most of the stuff I'm doing I think's been pretty good. But if you could pick anything,
I don't know about like the game specifically. Oh my God, I'm sorry. My roommates are being very loud in the living room. If you hear laughing, it's them.
Yeah. How dare they have a good time?
Right. But I really want to sort of, now that you mentioned like a queen type character, I really think it'd be fun to play very, not airhead though, but like very stoic, like commanding presence.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really interesting, and like a high up, like either royalty or like, you know, some kind of high ranking. Um and I don't know, I want people to fear me in not the way that they feared Lily, uh my Vampire the Masquerade character from the Night in Question, but for those who don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way that like they're so like cold and just, you don't know what's going on inside their head, that at a moment's notice they'll just be like off to the stocks, or like
Eh.
off to the guillotine or
That's
something, and
Oh,
you're just like, oh shit.
I'm hearing Game of
that's Game of
Thrones
Thrones.
or
Yeah,
Exalted.
yeah,
Exalted, you could do that. You could, especially if in the dragon blooded society in which you like control society, for lack of a better term, and I say
yeah.
that Exalted is huge. Like, it's literally massive and full of a bunch of crazy bullshit. And I mean that, but they're like dragons that literally pee heroin. Like, that game is weird
Oh.
and amazing. It's weird and amazing, but you could totally do that. Game of Thrones, incidentally, is a decent game. I think would be awesome to stream, and the reason why is, that being said, their Green Ronin published rules for it. They're the best part of it is their how to create your own house, that rule system. But to actually run the game, I actually like Zweihander better. But what I really like is the game is sent where you make your own house. Like, you get to just make it up. Like, okay, I had a game where there was House Crackclaw, and we picked the Crackclaw point, and we're like, they live here, and you do these rolls, and we made this whole history of it, and it can be very big and meta. So you could be the the lady of the house, and okay, fuck that guy over there. We're gonna go to war, and the game's built in a way to go do that. And what would be fun about streaming that is our audience could fill out a form and they can participate in a small way. So like T-Dorf, who likes to follow us around, could fill out like, all right, well, there's a lot of positions in a house to make such a thing like that run. Well, who's the Master of Hounds? The Master of Hounds in medieval time, they took care of the dogs. They were part of the hunting. All right, well, cool. T-Dorf's the Master of Hounds, and there's like a little form he can fill out in downtime. And then he's got a name, he's got a thing, and then it can come up in the narrative. Like, oh, yes, Master T-Dorf, he was out hunting the other day, found some poachers on our land. Turns out they are Targaryen spies or whatever, And that could be kind of fun. Yeah.
He's so fun. Also, side note really quick, Ty. My favorite characters in, like, at least in anime specifically, are the ones who are just like so cold and just have that look of like, I don't care. I could kill you at any moment's notice and you wouldn't,
I'm a bad bitch.
I wouldn't even flinch. I'm a bad bitch.
Yes.
You say that, Megan.
I love that.
No one will ever know this moment but me, to go to the Night in Question, to what it's to be like on your knees in front of Ty, or Ty playing Lily, begging for forgiveness as they are covered in blood, and they look at you and say, do you love me? Would you do anything for me? Would you kill her for me? In that moment, I'm like, Ty is channeling crazy girlfriend energy right now, and I would murder someone for them right now. Like, that was that moment. Like, there was a ton of moments
That was the
night,
goal for Lily.
but that was other than making someone lick your boot, that was awesome. That was the guy that did it, we owe him a drink. He made that moment so cool.
Right. He did it, like, just like a quick, like, him on his knees, me quick, like, are you okay with this? Can you just pretend to lick my boot? Is that all right?
Yeah, oh,
like,
it
yes.
was, leading up to it. Yeah, that was, it was, but outside of that, because I thought that was an awesome moment for you, because I get to feel cool. I beat somebody up, and I was like, because of the whole terms where you have to apologize to my wife. And then he did that, and you just walked up, and you own that stage. Just like, lick it. I'm just like, damn.
Damn.
I like hearing I got very like bubble, like trying not to focus that like everybody's probably watching me right now, but I did hear the like, oh, like behind me.
Oh yeah,
just going like,
we yeah, but so talking about being scared and that you channeling that moment, no one else will know that but me. I mean, other people were there, but nobody else was in that moment, and that was like, okay, Ty has officially sold crazy girlfriend. like in this moment, like covered in blood, like I want you to go murder your ex-girlfriend for me, and you gonna do it.
Moments like that are so good. Like there was one of our friends was DMing something for me, and it was like my first session sort of inserted in this game that other people had been playing previously. And like my character was sort of a like Black Widow situation. She was an assassin rogue, and she had like found this bandit captain that she was going to like marry, kill, take his money, all that jazz.
Yeah, like you do.
And somebody else had kind of like messed up the situation for me to the point where I was found out, and like he perfectly did this bit where like it was time for us to go to bed. We like got back to his chambers. He like locked the door behind him, and then he turned. He was like, "You know I love you, right?" And I was like, "No, no, 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 no." It was bad. Oh, but that's the best when you can invoke that kind of fear or that like primal reaction to like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, that was fun, and like it was just But I know what you're talking about, Ty. But I was like that is a moment that is always burnt into my head. Like we've done a lot of things together since then, Sinners and Saints and stuff like that. But that was a moment where you won, like you had accomplished what you, because it's a very narrative system. There's no real rules, so to make someone else be a badass, everyone has to agree to make you a badass. Everyone has to give you that moment. And that was I would say a moment you earned, in addition to licking the boot and all that. And when the one person insulted Mother, that was great. You don't insult Mother and have a room full of 20 people ready to like just stab someone over insulting Mother, and they don't even know her too.
To sort of like plug the night in question again. You're welcome, Matthew Webb.
Yeah.
I think in like Nordic systems and like that whole the whole blockbuster sort of LARP system, I think what made it so good is that everybody was like happy to see your character ideals come to life, like even if it wasn't planned ahead in the Discord, and you're there that night, like with Lily, I mean, I made a few connections beforehand, but to kind of see people throughout the night like recognize that she is a very particular kind of crazy, and that like just like everybody started going along with it is so good. Like it's very negotiating and everything, but like unless it I didn't ask for anything like too out of hand that people turned it down. But it was awesome to see people like want to see how far Lily could go, and same thing with like with Mother, how everybody was very we just mentioned a few things like Mother's scary as shit, like she doesn't have to lay a finger, we do all the work for her, and that's how fucking like powerful she is. And everybody went along with it. They were like, yeah, like don't touch Mother, like like the scene that the guy interrupted and everybody was like, no.
It was
so it's really fun to have a LARP scene that that kind of character development can happen, because everybody just wants to see everybody else succeed, not necessarily like not fail, but go forward. And I actually have a question for everybody to segue from that.
There you go ahead.
You wanted to say something though.
Sorry,
what
did Ian did you answer the question
Of what?
Oh my god, wait,
Which one?
did you?
I either have absolutely terrible memory and you didn't.
Oh yeah, I answered that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, because you said the Van Helsing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My short-term memory is absolutely dreadful.
I feel you.
Speaking of dogs.
My
No more. Come
my
here. Come here. Where are you?
let's see the pupperone.
Yes.
This is my little dog. If I could
Blends in
find
with
him,
your
I have a
black shirt.
Yeah, there you go. It's my little baby. And then I have a giant
Aw.
lizard around here somewhere. So.
I love the lizard.
All right, so what's your
Um,
question, Ty? Let's hear it.
So my question is, if you could LARP any game, what would it be? That isn't I guess.
Not vampire.
We'll see. That isn't vampire or D&D.
Ooh, man.
It goes for you too, Adam.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking like, are we
And
talking
the audience, I want
blockbuster
to hear you
LARP?
too.
Are we talking about a blockbuster LARP? Because there's a difference between that and running a long-term parlor LARP.
I'm gonna say blockbuster LARP. Just a good 6-hour fun time LARP of just having a good time. Because I've never done the whole continuous LARP thing.
When we can, don't worry. I will take you all on that wild, terrible ride. But until then, I feel like Star Wars would be kind of fun. There is a LARP. It's a Battlestar Galactica LARP out in Michigan that takes place on like a decommissioned destroyer, and that looks really cool. I'm like, okay, that seems kind of neat. So
that's awesome.
I think a Star Wars could be kind of fun. Like I think you could have fun with that. Like hiding out from the Empire or something like that. That would be cool because it's iconic. Everyone can instantly draw a lot of connections. You don't have to learn. I was surprised at the night in question how many people had never heard of vampire before. Like, I went to this vampire thing and I have no idea what any of this is. Why did you buy $200 tickets to go to this thing? Oh no, it sounded like fun.
Why
but
not?
Yeah. But Star Wars it has an instant connection, so I feel like that would be kind of fun. To use that kind of thing. Battlestar Galactica would be kind of neat. Any place that can. What makes the blockbuster LARP work is the environment that you can bring to life. And Star Wars costumes are easy to come by. They also don't necessarily have to be so fancy. You can do a little bit of like modern stuff, but also kind of have a medieval look to it because a lot of, especially the prequel stuff, has robes. So I guess, yeah, I think Star Wars would be pretty cool. Would be pretty cool.
Would be really cool.
Ian, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I don't think Star Wars could ever meet the expectations I'd want out of it. The trouble is, and now that you just said Battlestar Galactica, that would make a fantastic LARP. And the reason being is because you can set it all in one location, and there's a very specific plot point that could be woven in, like in the middle of it.
The Cylons.
The Cylons, like, maybe nobody knows, and then just halfway through the LARP, it's like, oh, guess what? You're a Cylon.
Oh,
and here's what you now know.
Yes. Sounds like a game of Mafia.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. But then setting it on like an old decommissioned ship, that would be good. The trouble, in my mind, with Star Wars is so much of Star Wars is like getting into a spaceship and going somewhere. Or like going to a different location, having these sort of fantastic locales. But there's maybe something to it that you could do, like sort of being in the cantina and making connections and such. But I don't know, maybe, but I don't know if that's an answer.
Yeah, I was like,
or not.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica.
There you go.
I did, of course, I've done some historical reenacting, which they don't want to tell you is just LARPing anyway.
But it is.
but it is. You put on some costumes and go do a Civil War battle. Guys, we're LARPing. No, we're not.
We're just LARPing.
I mean,
we're just LARPing.
We're LARPing, but
we're LARPing with guns.
But we have
is what we're doing.
We have our bachelors in history. That's the difference here.
Yeah.
But what could really be interesting for a blockbuster LARP, and the night in question kind of goes for a specific setting on this, but sort of a horror themed thing. You said it, maybe you put everybody in a camp or something, and then again you basically horrify them all night, and I think that would be a lot of fun. Sort of like Friday the 13th.
Oh my God, that would be kind of fun. Yeah. Like we all get to be stupid camp counselors. Like that would be the whole
premise. And just say like, just kind of get everybody out from the beginning to go like, we're gonna scare the shit out of you tonight. Okay, is that all right? And just be prepared for that.
All right.
On that note, I kind of feel like I think one Star Trek would be really cool, and similarly, you could kind of like have it in a specific like it could be one of the ship episodes where like whatever happens specifically on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's a thing or not because like I've never dipped my toe in the LARP pool, but Call of Cthulhu would be
Yeah.
so cool and fun to do. It might be a little difficult, probably really difficult actually. I don't know, but it would be so cool because I absolutely love the like mystery and sort of that like eldritch horror of, you know, you spend the whole time just getting scared. So you're going through and there's like a weird noise and it's just like, is that some eldritch being that like my mind cannot comprehend? Maybe.
Yeah. And you could scratch that sort of historical costuming itch as well.
Yeah.
And kind of set it in the early 20th century.
Mm.
I think I know they've Adam, you might know more about it, but I know they've done stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
before,
I'm sure
right?
there's. I see with blockbuster LARPs, it's kind of just now becoming a thing. I know there are Call of Cthulhu LARPs. There's rules for it. I've never been to one. And now that actually we're talking about historical, Seventh Sea has had a fun LARP. So that's essentially mystical Earth swashbuckling. It's pretty cool. I love playing priests. I'm totally ready to play a Vadisine priest right now. It's great. That would be there. They have that. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun because that'd be easier to costume, and you can set everyone up as part of different nations and different factions, and everyone's trying to get something. Game of Thrones would be fun to LARP too, as well. Like if you, especially people spent some money, put it in a big event. You know, because that's full of, you know, death, murder, and sex, and that's that makes a horror LARP work. Let me tell you here. So you know,
For sure.
that can be fun. I've always wanted to go to the Convention of Thorns. That takes place in a castle in Poland. Speaking of vampire, that would be. We were gonna go, but then COVID happened. Like that was our plan. We were like, we're doing it.
It ended. They
But someone bought
sold it, or
someone bought it out, and they were going to do it. Essentially, what was going to happen? I was going to go to the night in question, and then 2 weeks later, I was going to go to Prague, hang out in Prague for a couple of days, and then head out there. So you know, but alas. And I think one last question here, and then we'll probably start wrapping up here. Someone asked us, what's our favorite dice? Like your favorite die? I don't really have any favorite dice. Like I just, they're all there. I'm trying to think. I have nostalgic connections. I probably really miss. I still have them around here somewhere. What's left of them? My Vampire the Dark Ages dice that got me into role. Like that was the first dice I ever bought. With the first book I bought, you know, my little angsty teenage butt going like, what is this cool black book with a red rose on it? You know, let's, you know, that's just signed up to get me to get into it. So I guess that's my favorite dice in regards to that. Ian, you got any favorite dice? Or a favorite die type? I don't know. It's a different question, not something I expected.
It's a different question. No, I mean, like, I guess I don't have any particular connections to particular dice.
That's fine. Maybe you got a fancy set or anything like that, or.
You know, I really don't. And I guess the die that I was most fascinated by, at least when I was younger, was the D100. You see that?
Looks like
it is impossible. Ball. Yeah, it's like a golf ball. It is impossible to read. Yeah, because it has so many sides that it essentially turns into a sphere, and then it's like you're supposed to like read this like the one that's under the kind of light. And
which one? Yeah, which one's the exact top? Yeah. Gotcha.
But it's fascinating that someone tried to create it.
Yeah, somebody had ingenuity, and that's the important part.
Ty,
you got a favorite dice?
I sure do.
Oh, okay.
I like grab them. I like to have character die. So one of my absolute favorite D&D characters to play, Tyriol, he is a cleric tiefling. He has a super tragic backstory. to sum it up, he's basically the Antichrist, but not the Antichrist.
Hey, I love that. Sounds great.
But he's really great, and I had this beautiful pair of black and red dye for him, and I lost them because I left them at the friend's house that we were playing with, and then that campaign and like didn't end, like we stopped playing, and friend group sort of dissipated. We're never going to play it again, which is very sad because I love him so much. And so I missed that dice, whatever it is. But I also have these cool dice from Misty Mountain Gaming. And so they're fun, like iridescent, I guess, colored, but they're also metal.
Megan,
so they're heavy.
That's my favorite bit.
So they're heavy and they're really nice to roll. They're very satisfying. So those are my favorite.
And Megan?
So I also like to have character dice. I have a lot. I think last time I counted, I have, oh god, now I have 26 sets.
Oh my goodness.
I think I have a lot. It's a problem. But for my most recent anniversary, I was gifted by my lovely partner this really cool die, this really awesome D20. If you can see on the casing of it, it says Memento Mori with this lovely skull here. And on the inside, there is a D20. It's from Artisan Dice, crafted from human bone.
Oh, okay, that's fancy.
It is.
I love that.
Look at the bone doctor over there, very excited.
Retired medical skeletons. So they took retired medical skeletons and crafted D20s from them. So this is my bone dice.
And for those that don't know, Ian is he is essentially Indiana Jones for bones. So
well, it's sort of like I put it on Facebook a couple days ago. It's like, when I was a kid, I dreamed I would be Indiana Jones, and I kind of ended up being Marcus Brody, getting lost in his own museum. But yeah, I was just about to bring up that I was like, I wonder if anyone's made a die out of bone, and I wasn't going to say human bone.
Yes. So there is.
Because you didn't want to be the weird one, but
a while back, I think a couple of years ago, I gifted my partner a mammoth tusk D20 from the same company, which is insane.
Yeah, I don't know how people have been grinding up a mammoth tusk just to make dice. But
they included a little snippet of the actual tusk as well, for the sake of showing that it is in fact authentic. But it was insane, and yeah, his first roll with it was a nat 20 as well, so it was faded.
Good luck. Well, guys, I think we're getting close to wrapping it up here. So I hope everyone had fun chatting with us, getting to know us here at Silver and Blood. You get to learn a little bit more about what made me come up with Silver and Blood. You heard about my potential other idea. I shouldn't say it is an idea. Van Helsing 1776. I actually kind of like that idea. We'll see when what happens when the book comes out and all that, and maybe we'll have that adventure. Until then, I hope you guys are enjoying it. You can see us on all our other stuff. We kind of went over all the stuff we'd love to stream, LARP, whatever. You can follow us on Instagram. You can join the Grim and Perilous Discord. I think we're all there. I'm not sure. If we're not, we should be. I don't get to check that too terribly often, but if you post in our Silver and Blood specific thing, you can ask us and we can chit-chat until the end of time or until we're not there anymore. So there you go. It's another way to get to know us, see more of our stuff. So I'm glad everyone made it out. Or all of the above. Yeah. So I'm glad everyone made it out today. We will be back in 2 weeks, I believe. Let me check that. Yes. There is a time in May, by the way, that I think when we're scheduled to have something, we may not, because I will be out of town. And I cannot take my whole rig and transmit from where I go, but that's the end of May. I'll let everyone know about that ahead of time. So join us in 2 weeks for the next episode, where we're going to try to they're going to try to hunt down those that are infected with the orc sickness, hopefully before they infect anyone else or too many other people. Is there a cure for the orc sickness, or is it simply an old wives' tale? I don't know, but we will see. So we will see you guys next week. Take care.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
And,
you, folks.
as I say that, I'm like not even queued up for anything. I'm like, oh yeah, all right, there you go. So now we can go. All right, everyone, take care.
Bye, guys.